This is Blenderstyle, the show where we discuss a blend of heavy and extreme music. On this episode, Fiona Apple, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. This album was released in 2020 on Epic Records.
Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, guys.
So this is my pick. I definitely remember Criminal, her single from way back in the 90s or whatever. After that, I didn't pay attention to Fiona Apple at all. But this did get on my radar in 2020 when it came out, and I just started checking it out, and it was kind of blew me away. So I was definitely wanted to see what you guys thought. It's non-metal, kind of outside my wheelhouse, but I got into it. So, are you guys familiar with Fiona Apple or this album at all before this?
Yeah, I think "Criminal" is definitely one of those tracks that most people have heard. I would say.
Right.
My cousin went to a Fiona Apple concert once, and that really stuck with me. And I went and listened to the record, but I haven't listened to it since.
This record?
No, the whatever album "Criminal" was on, I forget what it was called.
So I am not familiar with Fiona Apple. I heard "Criminal" numerous times back in the day, but I never really paid attention to it.
I always remember the video.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen the video.
She's wearing layers of underwear.
I think the most familiar I am is her.
Doesn't she suck on a toe or something at one point?
I don't know. It's grungy, and she's in a kitchen. It's after a party or something.
I don't know if she sucks on a toe, but yeah.
I don't remember that
feet
part.
On a stick?
Yeah, toes on a stick.
Nice. Of course, Quentin Tarantino over here would remember that.
Yeah, so I think the most familiar I am with Fiona Apple was I think she did this theme song for The Affair on Showtime.
Like I said before, this is not a genre I'm familiar with, but I think they call it art pop.
This to me is jazz, blues, very piano driven, and
it's all acoustic instruments, right? There's no electric guitar on this. Heavy piano,
heavy piano, percussion for sure. Yeah, different types of percussion are going on throughout the album as well.
And it's all makeshift percussion. I mean, there's traditional drums, but I think they said 80% of this album is makeshift percussion, whatever's at hand.
Yeah.
Random shit in the house.
Pots,
pans,
buckets.
You hear a dog. You hear dogs at some point and stuff like that.
So I think they recorded this in her house in Venice Beach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I heard the last 2/3 of the album or something were done at Venice Beach. The pre-production was done in Texas at a studio, but the main recording was done at her house and a friend's house or something.
On GarageBand.
On GarageBand, which they had never used at the time, supposedly.
Yeah.
And it kind of has that sound. All of us have dabbled in GarageBand a little bit at some point. We're recording this on GarageBand right now. And it kind of has a very consistent sound throughout it. The first song, it sounds like the last song. It sounds like it's recorded in the same room. To me, that's the vibe.
Yeah. There's a lot of reverb. You could hear the room that they're in. A lot of echoes and stuff. A lot of background noise. I almost wonder if they were in a busier area in Venice where they recorded, because you could at times almost hear the busyness outside of the room. You
feel like you're in the room listening to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird, right?
I don't know how to explain it, because it's not weird in a bad way. It's weird in a raw. It kind of adds layering and depth to the album.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely gives this album character.
Yeah.
And I think I also read that, I'm sure all three of us have read that she wasn't that familiar with GarageBand. Mm-hmm. And that's why some of the vocals are even the way they are and stuff.
Yeah.
And I personally, that's one of my likes about it even.
This kind of gives you that feeling of the early 70s reel-to-reel recordings and things like that. Late 60s, early 70s with the raw, you got the hiss in the background or whatever, but in this it's just background sound and noise and room reverb and things like that.
I catch that with almost beat poetry kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
What genre, what kind of songs are these even? You said it's kind of jazzy, but it doesn't really have that swing. There's a lot of weird percussion going on.
For sure, which is different for her as well.
With piano.
Yeah, piano is a normal thing for her too.
Right.
This has kind of that piano bar feel, but with a jazz percussion, and it's almost like you went to a piano bar and the piano bar the person's playing the piano, but then off on the other side of the room, they got a jazz guy just doing some, drum fills and stuff.
I definitely feel like city vibes with this. I don't feel nature. I feel city. I feel
Oh yeah, this is busy.
like in a small apartment. Like
Well said.
I mean?
Busy. Yes. Yes. That's like the energy of this. It's not sad. It's not like
It touches on a lot of sad aspects, but yeah, the music's upbeat for sure, and it keeps that upbeat tone.
it's like she's like trying to go somewhere, like getting her stuff together and walking out the door, and
Yes.
like that's kind of like the vibe I get from this. That's a
And
really
she
good
kind of
observation.
doesn't take shit either.
It's like she's saying "fuck you" to the bullies. Is kind of the feeling I get from it. There's like some pride going on in here.
There's a feel to this that kind of brings me back to that schoolyard shit you would see, like the kids jump roping doing the songs too. That kind of has that vibe. Some parts of it.
Yeah,
It's weird. It's kind of all over. It's like
it's kind of hard to explain.
It's weird because it's got like some parts have that real deep South kind of feel, like something you'd see like in New Orleans
Sitting on a porch,
kind of thing, or something you hear like on a street musician or some street musicians playing down there, and then it's also got that
Banging on some buckets.
then
Yeah,
it's
dude.
also got that weird East Coast, like you said, small
That's why
apartment
this is
vibe.
totally splitting right down the road of, am I jazz? Am I blues? Am I jazz? Am I blues?
Is it garage? Is it not? Right.
Yeah, like she's definitely taken the rhythmic parts of like the blues and the different upbeat happiness and mixing just personal lyrics, man.
Totally.
Yeah, like raw.
And what's cool about this is that it's personal lyrics, but I take it also personal. I feel like this is male or female. This is
totally
for
agree.
everybody type record. Lyrical content,
Yeah,
sound.
I agree with that.
You know.
And her vocal delivery is just like it's personal. Like no one's singing shit like this at all. Like you could have covered
There's
these
times
songs.
where her voice is going in different places and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like
and
almost Yoko Ono stuff, except it doesn't suck.
better.
Yeah, there's a raspiness to it. There's also a mistiming kind of aspect to it where she's not on time sometimes, but it
I think
works
that's
really
what
well.
she was talking about with the vocal parts.
It feels like she's like running like triplets over like four like straight eighth notes or something. Yeah, there's some definite like runs where it seems like she's going faster than the music.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Type shit. But it's poetry. It's rough. It's tough. Kick me under the table. I won't shut up.
Yeah, it's great, dude.
I love that she says "fuck" in 2 songs back to back, and not in like a weird way. Like
Yeah.
she's saying "fuck" in this piano
dude.
jazz bluesy thing, and she does it with.
That's one of the
fucking
things I
greatness.
like about it too, dude. Is just it's like the vocals are so raw in this. Like you feel what she's saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Also, I read that she takes a very long time to come out with records like this. Actually, took years to record.
Yeah, there's a long window between the last album and this one.
Yeah, for sure. And like at first when I like was looking it up, I thought that was kind of weird. You know what I mean? This is her 5th record, I believe. Been around for many years. How come she doesn't have more? And then like I think this takes a lot out. This is an artist spilling her guts, and I think this isn't something you could just bang out in 3 months.
Right.
And that's what I love about this. This is very personal, and this is a piece of her that she's put out in the world, and that's great.
It sounds like they took their time with it, but it also sounds live at the same time.
So I really like the use of the structures that they use on this. The structures of the songs are really good. The piano's killer throughout. The song Shamika, that piano intro, or actually the whole piano part, it's really cool. It reminds me of the intro to the Peanuts, which is cool.
I like how fucking weird and bizarre it is. Nothing sounds like I don't know anything that sounds like this. This is not my wheelhouse. I don't listen to music like this, generally speaking. But dude, this is very unique, and I dig it for that. And it's got a cool vibe. Like I feel like a lot of like more acoustic music like this can tend to be like more sad or happy. It doesn't really have that angry angst vibe that kind of draws us to metal. But this definitely has some like fuck you kind of elements going into it, and I really
Well
dig
said,
it.
man. Well said.
It's a good thing to touch on, yeah, because it doesn't have that angry angst like you would hear in like a metal or a punk song, but it's just as deep and heavy.
It's
This
like
kind of sounds punk rock to me. This is like up there with Patti Smith, and I'm
Word.
a Patti Smith fan.
Mhm.
And when this came out, I also listened to it, and I'll always listen to this album. You know what I mean? I know she has other albums. I know I should go back and listen to them, but this album has such a sound and vibe
the pace of it.
that I connect with.
You know,
What is this? This is 52 minutes. This feels like 30 fucking minutes.
It
for me,
jams,
man.
dude. It's easy to
And I
jam.
will I'll walk one more time around the block with my dog so I can make sure I listen to this whole record. I think it's great.
But what'd you dislike about it?
I think some of the like percussion parts can kind of sound the same, and in certain parts, kind of repetitive in some areas, But I'd be reaching, man.
There's lots of repetitive parts in this. I think that's what makes it good too. Like
Mhm.
she hooks by repeating parts, right? She's smart to do that.
Mhm.
But some of it, I'm just like, dude, don't say ladies one more time. She says ladies like 500
I
times.
actually think that's a great fucking song.
It's good.
I think
I don't
that song-
disagree, but it's just like, if I had to pick something I don't like, there is a lot of repetition to it.
So I would agree with
Yeah.
that. I think that was one of my biggest complaints was the repetition. Like, I don't need to hear you say, sweep me under the rug, I won't shut up. I mean, just shut up already. We got it.
Yeah, it's like,
Oh my gosh, I love that part.
No, I do love that part. I love that part, but it's just so many times. Like, I got it after, the third repeat.
it makes it hard to listen to over and over again.
It does. But I also think that, like, the other thing that I didn't like about it was, like, this album took me 5 or 6 listens to get into.
Oh, really?
The rawness, which now I think is probably the best part of it, was the thing that made me not like it at first.
Interesting.
So it was raw and it was dirty, and like I said, I'm not a Fiona Apple fan. I've heard the whatever song was on the radio,
Criminal.
and the one off of the Affair, and they were super like overproduced almost, and then to hear this, I was like, what the hell is this? At first I thought this was one of her like first like
Like a
albums,
demo. Or
like a demo or something. And I didn't really like it. I'm not a fan of her style of music to begin with, and so it kind of threw me off. But after about the 4th or 5th time through, I caught myself like humming along to the songs and like getting into them and stuff. And it came out to be a really good album. But I think just the slow build for me is my biggest my biggest dislike about it.
Mm.
It took too many times. And then even now there's songs like we were just talking about where they repeat the part so many times. They're just like, okay, heard enough, next song. Other than that, there really wasn't a lot to dislike about it. I mean, it was a pretty decent album.
Well, I mean, saying you want to skip the song, that sounds pretty bad.
Well, but I mean, I'm like
Just
3/4 of the way through it, and I'm just tired of hearing the same thing over again.
My only other beef with it is I think it plays better as an album as an individual tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't really feel like I'm pulling a lot of tracks off this and putting them in playlists. Like, I just sit down and play this as an album.
Yeah, there's a certain flow to it that just kind of goes, and if you disrupt it, it kind of breaks it.
But I'm kind of reaching.
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you give this for a rating, Casey?
So I give this a 3.8 out of 5.
Mm.
Like I said, it took a while to grow on me. It started out not liking it, and it kind of felt childish and just phoned in almost. But as it grew on me, it was really good. I got into it. I feel like there's that schoolyard feel, like I kind of talked about, which is kind of the biggest downfall to me, really. It's just there's just certain things I'm like, it's almost like you're jumping rope and you're repeating the same thing and counting up to 1,000,000 or whatever.
But 3.8, it's good though.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, this is where I gotta jump in real quick because you're saying this shit, and dude, my rating's 3.9, and I think this album kicks ass.
So Nate, you're giving it a 3.9.
Give it a 3.9, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
That's right.
Yeah, 3.9.
Mm-hmm.
I think this album kicks. I would recommend it to anybody, and it's a good album.
I would recommend it. I probably won't listen to it again.
Oh, I'll listen to it tomorrow.
I give this a 4.6 out of 5.
Fuck.
This is a quirky, brilliant album. I recommend it to anyone. Anyone that's into music at all, that's like can deal with non-traditional like structured music. Music fans, just check out "Fetch the Bolt Cutters." It's fantastic.
Although that is the weakest song on this album.
No, it's not.
I
Ladies.
probably underrated this album. To tell you
I
the
think
truth.
you did too.
And I think I will continue to listen to this record. I think it's a great one.
I've been listening to this for 2 years since it came out or whatever.
I haven't listened to it since. It made a playlist years ago that I did just a random playlist.
I'm a metalhead and I make a top 10 album list of every year. This was my number 1 for 2020.
Ooh.
Fetch the Bolt Cutters is great, dude.
But that's kind of what sucks too. Is it like came out during like the whole pandemic thing?
I don't know why you think that sucks. I think that's great. We needed something good.
Well, no, I mean, like in the sense of like, did she really tour on this? Did she do much with this?
It's what it sounds.
And I don't even think she really tours that much.
Because a lot of bands were doing material during the pandemic, and you could feel it. Like like Cradle of Filth did like live performances. And you're like, oh, this is fucking phoned in. This feels genuine as fuck. This seems like she was just like, fuck everything going on. I'm gonna make a good album in my.
I'm gonna make what I want to make.
Yeah, and it's not like
this goes to show that if you have any potential, because Blenderstyle is saying you have potential, that you can use GarageBand, you can do anything you want, you can make, your own.
She's tapping on fucking pots and pans
This is awesome.
and making the best album of 2020 in GarageBand.
In your opinion.
Blenderstyle said you had potential.
Kick rocks.
This is Blenderstyle. That was Fiona Apple. Fetch the Bolt Cutters. They're like sucker punchlines.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.